I've got my his cup.
Got my hers cup.
And we got our bowls. Today we got some Bruce Banner and some strawberry lemonade. And we got some blue gelato 41 and some hash plant.
Woohoo!
We're going to be drinking some coffee that we just picked up from Black Oak Coffee Roasters out of these cups that are specially for our Cups and Bowls show from our friends Mo and Wes. Thank you guys. Where to start?
Well, we hope everyone viewing is good, doing good, safe during these times.
Yeah. Disclaimer time. Let's do the disclaimer, okay? We do not believe any information that we will be discussing in this episode of the Cups and Bowls show today. In fact, we don't even have any beliefs. We just have thoughts and feelings and opinions and ideas. Beliefs close the door to opposing possibilities, and that's something that personally I have a problem with. I don't want to close myself off to possibilities just because I have a desire for one thing to be true more than another. So it's really interesting because people have been accusing me of like trying to live in an echo chamber and stuff like that online, especially in some of these groups where I thought that there would be a lot more open-minded population of people, maybe a lot more people who were interested in looking at the less popular beliefs or ideas about things. Take this fuck acid math group, a group kind of I think at least loosely based around the idea of psychedelics and what they offer humanity. And oh, you should have seen the way that I got attacked just for like sharing a post like that I wasn't even claiming as true or anything. I was just kind of I mean, it's really a lot of time I think when I share stuff I'm looking for more like what people think about it, not so much their reaction to it. Like, I think people react a lot.
There's definitely been a lot more like personal attack than actually like talking about the information, because that's what it comes down to. We're trying to spread and gain information, whether
even just ideas about
right.
the information,
Mm-hmm.
you know, not even that the information's true. Like, we're just, and it's like people want to censor the information. They're not.
We just want to reach out and we want to hear about other people's experiences, you know, and we're not trying to deny some and accept others. We want to hear them all, but inquiring about these various experiences, we're kind of being shamed for trying to investigate ideas that aren't just being fed through mass media.
Right, it's like, if you know someone who's sick or who's died, you know, and this is your experience, and you have a right to that experience. But that doesn't mean that someone having a different experience doesn't have a right to that experience. So, you know, maybe some of these people in some of these videos that are talking about ideas that oppose the truths that have been more widely accepted, you know, that's their experience. They're expressing their experience, you know, and I think that we need to at least let everybody be real about their own personal experience and ideas, you know, like Otherwise, it really does start to kind of seem like the whole 1984 Soylent Green, you know, dystopian future kind of.
The fact of the matter is we are in a global pandemic, and this virus is mysterious, even to those with the highest credentials. Which is why it's even more important for the everyday person to be trying to keep themselves informed and inquiring every possibility so that nothing's overlooked. And just because we're not in a frontline hospital or we don't know people who are sick doesn't mean we don't care. Doesn't mean we don't see the tragedy happening. We're, in fact, we care so much we're trying to ask questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't be so offended by people just looking at all kinds of different information and ideas and different people's different perspectives. You know, not just. I have a huge problem with just reacting out of fear. People accept information because they don't know, and so out of fear they accept the information that the external authorities have to offer, or they accept what the majority of people believe. And I've always kind of been someone who challenged that. So, as far as the disclaimer goes, you know, we're not religious people. We're not people of belief. You know, I'd say, like, maybe a good way for somebody who has trouble not putting labels on things, you know, like I've found the ideas of the agnostic, existential, nihilistic anarchist to be like kind of roundabout ways of describing my personal philosophies and ways of thinking. But I'd like to start off the show. Well, okay, you know, just in saying that there will be religious stuff being referenced.
And by no means are we not telling anybody to abide by the quarantine. We perfectly understand and respect, you know, everybody's boundaries and...
Fuck the quarantine.
You know, everyone should practice whatever levels of safety that keep them feeling confident in themselves.
There you go.
It's better to be precautious than sorry.
So, we're gonna smoke some Bruce Banner.
Woohoo!
This is some 100% organic, full sun. This is organic all the way, its whole life. Really amazing method used in growing this stuff. If you want to see a closer view of the Bruce Banner, you're going to have to check out the replay on our YouTube channel, FOSAD5150, after we edit the live recording. Recorded live. Alright. I'm as antsy as anyone else.
Is the Facebook Live kind of blurry?
Yeah, you know, it might be like that because I have a shitty webcam.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you had plastic over it. I was like, is it...
Oh, maybe I do.
Is there plastic over that camera?
I don't think I've ever used
really blurry.
the webcam on my computer. Ah! There is.
There's plastic on
There's plastic on it. Ha ha ha! Well.
Ta-da!
Now there's something to make fun of. I never took the damn plastic off my webcam because I never used it. I think this might even be the first time I've ever really used it. Like, I think I may have used it to take some pictures of like something like...
The camera honestly still looks a little blurry to me.
Oh, it's probably a shitty webcam. It's probably just a shitty camera.
But like the Instagram...
That's our phones have good cameras.
Maybe we have to use both our phones next time.
Well, I need my phone. Maybe, but your laptop usually has a pretty clear.
Anywho, how's that bowl treating you?
Oh yeah, the bowl of Bruce Banner.
Bruce Banner. Some call it Bruce Banger.
It's banging for sure.
Is that Barney's Farms?
You know, let me just check that, because there's a few different places that these strains have come from.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, okay. Oh wait, no, that's perfect then. Okay. Oh, look at that. That's daily picture time. Daily picture time. Okay, but first let's figure out this. The Bruce is from Seedsman, I believe.
Seedsman.
Seedsman does the Bruce.
We are on day 9. I know quite a few other people started quarantining before us. And really, we're just trying to make sure we're not sick.
But we don't have work now.
Safety of the people we love.
So this is our daily picture. And what our daily picture is every year we come out with a new video where I take all of the daily pictures that we took in that year and I put them together in a slideshow video. We have what, like 6 or 7?
I think 6.
Six daily picture videos. You can go check those out on YouTube. They're on the FOSAD 5150 YouTube channel. We're at 349 daily pictures, so we've almost got a year's worth. It's never really an exact year, but it's like close to a year, around a year. It just kind of depends on what's going on for us around that year, that annual mark. But it's usually kind of around our anniversary, because we met in the summer of 2011.
Mid-June.
The Bruce, though. So, we were smoking earlier today, we were smoking a bowl of Bruce Banner and strawberry lemonade.
Oh yeah, the combo.
And I could really tell how the Bruce tones down the fruity, citrusy strawberry lemonade, because it has a slightly earthier, woodier taste. It's still light, you know, and not too pungent, not too musky or anything. It's good.
Do you guys ever do that? Like, mix 2 different kinds of cannabis? And if so, which ones?
Yeah, like, I found I like to make my own hybrid bowls. It's like, take different kinds and stuff and like mix them and see the taste differences and the effect differences. Like, does anyone have any like 2 favorite strains to mix, or like 3 favorite strains to mix, or 4 favorite? I think we have like a picture, like, I don't know, hell years back on our Instagram, where I packed like 4 or 5 different genetics in one bowl, and like I took a picture because they were just so different looking, each of the strains, that you could actually tell the 4 or 5 different strains just by looking at the bowl.
That's cool.
So shit is going down.
Yeah.
Everybody has some kind of opinion, just like we do, and it's really interesting to see who's just kind of like watching what they're being fed and waiting and hoping for things to just go back to normal, or for this to pass, and who's asking bigger questions about why this might be going on, or
what the real repercussions
right,
are of what is going on.
The consequences of what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's kind of like now that this is happening and it's been happening for so long. It's relevant and it's irrelevant in ways. Why it's happening? It'd be nice to be able to uncover why it's happening, but I think that the more important question for moving on will be, what will be the consequences? How will the recovery be made? You know, for so long now, I've said how much power we had as the people, that if we just stopped going to work, stopped going to school, stopped doing everything that we do, how much effect we could have on the world in making it the way that we want it to be. And now that that's happened, we should all really just be looking at what we can do with this. We've been forced into taking the power back into our hands. We've been forced into stopping the moving of the gears, and not all the gears have stopped. Maybe more gears need to stop. You know, I don't know. I don't want to not be able to get my food and stuff at the grocery store, but to what extent do things need to be stopped in order for us to be willing to change the way that we're doing things, to be willing to reassess what we want, what we desire? You know, I mean, I get it. I have really strong cancer in my chart, and it's really easy for me to desire comfort and be willing to make sacrifices for comfort. But I really I have to ask myself, what I redefine comfort. I have to redefine comfort for myself, and comfort's not just what feels good. For me, comfort needs to be what is good for all. Like, and I think it's something that a lot of people probably need to really start considering about redefining a lot of ideas that we have in our lives and stuff. Is this you? Or?
It's about done.
It is about done.
Yeah, definitely.
Boom. Done.
The globalization really is gonna need to bring in a paradigm of equivalency.
So, without further ado, I want to introduce the article that I think's kind of interesting. It's at avoidthemark.com. I can't see what. I can't see what else it says. Oh, okay. It won't show me the whole web address. I love how they change these little things about this, but it says the mark of the beast isn't what you think. Trump, QAnon, Saint Germain, and COVID-19. Now remember, as I go into this, we're not religious people. We don't have beliefs. Personally, I look at religious doctrine as historical text more than I do religious doctrine. So, I think of it more as metaphors and symbols, possible warnings, or offerings of solutions, possible solutions to explore for humanity in a way that was felt like would be guaranteed to be passed on. So I don't take the religious doctrines as truth or fact or any of that. I look at them and I try to look at them objectively, like just an artifact from history, and really understand what was trying to be said, more than how literal what's being said is or isn't. I'll begin the article now. We need to talk about the mark of the beast. While there are countless ideas about exactly what the mark is, this is mine, and I stand behind it. It's not my belief. This is the belief of the person writing the article. It's vitally important right now, during the COVID-19 scare and beyond, to be vigilant. The statistics simply don't add up to a worldwide lockdown that we're currently under. In this article, I'll show you exactly how I came to a specific conclusion about the ominous mark of the beast and how it plays into our current worldwide events. And it says, disclaimer, the mark of the beast is not an RFID chip implant, which I think is really, good to say, because so many people just immediately respond with identifying this mark of this beast as this RFID chip implant, but they really go on to say how, this is just, it's really that RFID stuff is a small piece in a grander puzzle that may very well have been referenced in ancient historical texts. To give a baseline to our discussion, this is how the Bible describes the mark of the beast in Revelation 13:16 through 18. 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. 17. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. 18. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Note that in Scripture, your right hand represents your works and deeds, and your forehead represents your thoughts and will. You may think I'm going to say that the he referenced in the Scripture is an individual called Antichrist, right? It's not. It goes way deeper than that. The unfortunate endgame for those who choose, notice I say choose, not forced, to take the mark of the beast is detailed in Revelation 14:9 through 11. 9. Then a third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast and his image, and receives his mark on his forehead or on his hand. 10. He himself shall also drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out full strength into the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. 11. And the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever, and they have no rest, day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whoever receives the mark of his name. But how will you know when the mark of the beast is presented to you? How will you possibly stop it from happening to you and your loved ones? Is it happening right now? Okay. Do you see how even this person who apparently believes in religion is referencing texts from religious doctrine as metaphors or symbols? So, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm far off in my perspective of what these texts are, but I don't know. I'm not a big Bible reader. I'll go on. It says the mark of the beast does not come from an individual called Antichrist. It's a system. Revelation 13 is very clear about who gives the mark, and it's not a person called Antichrist. It's also clear in Revelation 13 that there are two different forces at work during the end times, the first beast and the second beast. The first beast, also called the beast of the sea, is the one associated with the Antichrist system. This is the system we've been living under for hundreds of years. It's the all too familiar system of oppression, fear, debt, and slavery. But it's not this beast that gives the mark. The second beast, the beast of the earth, the false prophet system, which is also called the alliance, the one that gives the mark. This beast is a system that represents hope, wealth, and power to the people. If we take things back to verse 11 in Revelation 13, it becomes much clearer that a second beast, like a lamb, arises in the end times. 11. And I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. 12. And he exorciseth all the power of the first beast before him.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah, wow, that word's an interesting one. How the first beast has lied to us about the mark. The idea that the mark of the beast is some sort of ambiguous form of technology that somehow tracks your every movement better than an iPhone or a Fitbit, or allows you to pay without using cash better than Apple Pay or any credit debit card, or has some new facial recognition software like they're already doing in China and several US cities, and is given by Antichrist, is a non-biblical Jesuit idea that's been popularized by a media controlled by the first beast, but it simply isn't true. One example of how we've learned to accept the idea that the mark of the beast comes from a person called Antichrist can be found in season 8 of the popular television series American Horror Story. In this series, a specific character is depicted as the Antichrist who arises to power. In a scene, the character even quotes incorrectly from Revelation 13:1. And I stood upon the sand of sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads, 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. The writers of this series want you to think this verse refers to a single person, and that this person is the beast of the sea, the first beast, the Antichrist. In American Horror Story, this deceptive character even has a suspicious 666 scar behind one of his ears. This is completely inaccurate, and only further perpetuates the lie. This represents the misinformation widely believed by Christians and non-Christians alike. However, Revelation 13:1 actually teaches us that the first beast is the Antichrist system, the spirit of Belial, and his many armies. The idea that there's an individual Antichrist is the most popular idea circulated throughout the world, but what's popular doesn't equal what is biblically true. It's only what the first beast wants us to believe. And I think that's really interesting because the way that they describe the beast of the sea reminds me of things like corporations, banking cartels, energy production cartels, weapons manufacturing, military industrial complex. A beast with many heads and many crowns. Seems like things like the Bilderberg Group and the Trilateral Commission and the Council on Foreign Relations. Back to the strawberry lemonade. I'll continue. The two beasts in Revelation are conglomerates of two separate and distinct Luciferian agendas. Dark magic describes these agendas as right-hand or left-hand paths, light and dark, bad and evil. Notice that I didn't say good and evil. To those who hold the belief that a single man will rise to power and somehow desecrate a temple, claim that he is God, and be worshipped by the entire world, I want to ask you something. How could one man possibly overcome the first beast, the deep state, the cabal, and the elite who have almost complete control over all current forms of government, media, and religion? How could one man, no matter how powerful, overcome them all and rule the world as though he were God? One person can't. It takes an army of principalities and powers to accomplish a worldwide agenda and this massive scale. It takes a great left versus right deception, divide and conquer, Democrat and Republican, conservative and liberal, right wing, left wing. I also see this internationally, like US versus Russia, or US versus China, or Russia versus China. It's all just divide and conquer tactics. So it's like these traveling merchants that the Bible supposedly talks about are these wealthy elites who have no tie to any specific nation, who are, like the heads and the crowns and things of this first beast. And I'm just speaking on this in reference to these things as metaphors, as ways of warning humanity as it wakes up and recognizes these mirrors of its reality and these things that are talked about in these historical texts. To throw us off the path of truth, the agenda has convinced us that we are the problem. We divide ourselves in every way possible and fight among each other. This keeps us from learning the truth of who actually rules over us and what their ultimate goal is. The next purpose it has is to keep us blind from noticing when the second agenda arrives. The second agenda is when we encounter the mark of the beast. It's kind of like that movie, Lucky Number 7. What's that trick that they pulled? Shit. Well, we're gonna have to watch that movie. Lucky Number 7. The whole movie is based on this thing where, you know, you're looking one way and they're going the other way, and can't remember what they call it. But if you know, you should leave it in a comment.
That was a good reference, oh yeah. Almost seems like magic, but it's really an illusion.
Right. Exactly. It's almost like what magic warns us about. The first agenda, although still plain in sight, has already been defeated by the second agenda. But to fully understand how events will play out, we need to look at how the first agenda accomplished dominion over the people of the world. The Federal Reserve Banking System. All money in the U.S. is controlled by a private central bank called the Federal Reserve. As Mayor Amschel Rothschild, godfather of the Rothschild banking cartel of Europe, was quoted, "Give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws." The road toward complete control for the elites of the world hasn't been easy. In fact, it's been inching its way forward for millennia. By researching the history of central banks and the Federal Reserve System, you'll learn what a long path it's been for the first beast to gain control over us through deceptive banking practices, debt, and a system that sets us up for failure and slavery. Entire books have been written on this subject. I'm going to take a break to taste the strawberry lemonade. Super citrusy, super fruity. This is the Barney's Farm. This is also 100% organic. Cultivated in a microclimate by a very, very seasoned professional. Good friend of ours. So if you have any thoughts on what I've said so far, or what I've been saying here, leave them in the comments. Let us know. That's what we're doing. This, you know, we talk about this stuff all the time, but this is, you know, for those of you who rather explore these kinds of thoughts and ideas more interactively than necessarily on your own.
Or like if you're watching a replay of this, you know, take your time to digest it and come back and, you know, if you think of something,
right,
you want to start conversations, absolutely.
We're just really interested in all your ideas and thoughts. Like, you can talk shit all you want, you know, but we're probably not going to respond or spend any time on it, because what we're really doing this for is just to get people thinking, you know, and coming up with ideas. And even if it's just fantastical, like getting back in touch with that divergent mindset that has been absolutely murdered by the Western schooling system.
I mean, the first step is saying we want transparency and working towards it. You know, that's all.
We want to be allowed to have our own ideas. We want to be allowed to think what we want, as long as we're not forcing it on anybody else and not hurting anybody. You know, just because I don't believe that we're being told the absolute truth about what's going on doesn't mean I'm going and forcing myself to be around other people. I'm respecting other people's desire to be quarantined and to have social distance. But if somebody's not, they don't care about social distancing, they're not tripping like I'm not tripping, they want a hug, fuck dude, I'll give them a hug. I mean, I still wouldn't expect someone who's sick to give me a hug. I wouldn't give someone a hug if I was sick. I'm not saying people don't get sick. I'm not saying, like, there's not something causing people to be sick. I just don't know if it's being caused by what they're saying it's caused by, or if it's only being caused by what they're saying it's being caused by, or, you know, if something is causing it to be worse than it should be or would be, and they're not saying what it is, or who knows? Like, you know, if you've interacted with me at all in person or online about any of this, then you probably have somewhat of an idea of what some of my ideas are. And it's not that my ideas are exactly along the lines of all the videos that we post and stuff, but that those are things that I consider and that I integrate and assimilate into my ideas and thoughts. She's got ideas and thoughts too. She just doesn't really want to tell all you fools.
I think it's more important to keep an open mind and like be open to like new perspective.
Right, like posting these videos, sharing these videos, from that are random and totally not what the mainstream is disseminating, is only to break echo chambers. It's only to present myself with information that opposes the information that I previously understand, so that I can challenge myself, and come up with my own solutions. This is critical thinking, and if you're critical thinking and you're doing that, then you're also, not forcing your ideas on other people. If you're smart enough to think for yourself, then you're smart enough to know that you don't want other people's ideas forced upon you, so you're not going to be forcing your ideas upon other people. Alright. However, we've now reached the final phase, moving past the transition from the first beast to the second, into the complete and total control of the second beast. The second beast will not rule through the central banks. In fact, the second beast will destroy these entities. Ask yourself, however, could a single man that is yet to come somehow do this on his own? Thank you. Could he somehow be worse or more evil than the first beast system that through their banking cartel ran the world on the blood of human trafficking, drug trafficking, satanic ritual abuse, pagan idolatry, child sacrifice, slavery, and the strategic rejection of truth? These activities have all been hiding under our noses for hundreds of years while we toil away in day-to-day life trying to survive. The first beast, the Cabal, is quite literally Antichrist. They follow the rules and laws of the Babylonian Talmud, which is the most Antichrist book in existence. Now remember, this article I'm reading, not my opinion. It teaches them that you and your loved ones are nothing more than cattle for their youth. So this is kind of talking about Zionism. So could one man be somehow more blasphemous to God than the current world we already live in? Is one man really the second beast, or is it much more? It's time to open your eyes to the real world we live in. I keep telling everyone that we're living in the apocalypse. The rapture. Another reason people believe the Antichrist is a man is because of the popular book series Left Behind, written by noted Freemason Tim LaHaye. And this one, she can verify the fervor around this book.
It was a book series.
Series. How it was shoved down their throats as kids. Right?
Right, the fear of a rapture, immediate rapture. Those
being left behind with all the rapists and murderers and child molesters, right? Is that what they were telling you kids?
I mean, not those exact words, but in so many words. Totally.
Left behind with the sinners, right?
Right, exactly.
Uh-huh. This book series also popularized the idea of a rapture, However, the rapture doctrine in these books is highly misrepresented by distortions of what the Bible really says. This is a huge topic that I'll need to cover in another article, but for now, I'll just say that if you're getting your technology, sorry, if you're getting your theology or end times beliefs from Tim LaHaye, it's pretty much the same as getting your news from Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow, which I don't know who those people are, but I just imagine that they're like work for mainstream media or something. RFID chip implants. You've probably noticed that anytime someone mentions getting an RFID chip, people start to scream, "Mark of the Beast." But throwing out the term "Mark of the Beast" over RFID chip implants completely cheapens the massive and worldwide event that is going to be the true mark. The real mark will be based upon biblical truth and actual historical events leading up to a worldwide a worldwide quantum currency reset. People usually conjure up fantastical ideas that one day the entire world is going to turn upside down and everyone will immediately know that the end is here. That's exactly what the enemy wants us to believe. But we don't live in the movies the enemy has shown us. Remember 2,000 years ago, nearly everyone missed the first coming of Yeshua, Jesus, because they were all looking for a king. Someone they deemed worthy of being the Messiah. Yeah, it's funny. I saw this sticker slapped up somewhere, maybe like San Andreas or something. It said, "Jesus was homeless." I thought that was pretty cool. I like that idea. Anyway. Just like in those days, looking for a sign today that says 666 in some sensational RFID technology is not rooted in reality, even if the idea fits with what we think will happen. Echo chamber. Furthermore, an RFID implant is a technology that could potentially be forced on you. The mark of the beast will be freely chosen by each individual, not forced upon them. The rules of the Cabal. Lucifer and his armies are required to work within a specific set of rules. This is very important. The rules are a body of spiritual principles that they must follow in order to be allowed to exist. If they don't closely follow these benevolent spiritual principles and forces, they can't achieve their goals. In other words, unless we give them our permission, they cannot achieve what they set out to do. The rules are universal laws that cannot be preempted, avoided, or worked around. Malevolent forces, or fallen angels, and disembodied spirits of Nephilim, or demons, cannot do anything without our consent, or that is outside of biblical prophecy. This is exactly why prophecy is so subjective. If there were too many specifics given within prophecy, instead of parables to be interpreted at the correct time, the malevolent forces would be locked into fulfilling prophecy in one specific way. This would suggest a deterministic God, but this couldn't be further from the truth. So I kind of feel like a little bit of what they're saying right there aligns with my idea that it's about seeing or this metaphorical or symbolic reflection in the world around you, in your reality, that maybe you see being described in these historical texts of supposed prophecy. Think of prophecy like a hurricane spaghetti model. Certain paths end up merging into one at certain times. In prophecy, these alignments are based upon the decisions we as people make that are presented to us by the principalities of the powers of the air and executed by the wicked people who hold positions of high power. But the ultimate decisions remain with us. The idea of worldwide RFID chipping the idea of a worldwide RFID chip being forcefully implanted into every single person doesn't follow the very laws that the Dark Cabal must follow. Say, however, that for some reason that we were to I think that there might be a typo here. I'll read it to you word for word exactly what it says. You take it how you will. Say, however, that for some reason that were to happen. Okay, that makes sense to me. Ooh, sometimes I just read things and I have to read them a couple times before they make sense. Say, however, that for some reason that were to happen. What system would the RFID chip even run on? That is a typo right there. It says, what system would the RFID even chip run on? Okay. How would it operate any differently from your current IP address, cell phone, or bank account? Which is interesting because I was like thinking like, oh, what if IP addresses are like the mark of the beast or something? Like, that was kind of trippy. How exactly would it work to connect all people in all places? You see, the chip itself is superfluous when you take it to its logical conclusion. Instead, something revolutionary must happen that has never been uncovered or understood until the right time. Something like a new quantum financial system. It's interesting that they're saying this word quantum and like saying like quantum financial system. I'm not really sure what exactly they mean by quantum financial system, but it is interesting that there's like this quantum computing going on and it's like super crazy gnarly. Like if you start looking into quantum computing, like it's so crazy insane. Like I don't you know, I tried to like learn a little bit about it online, but I think that it was pretty far above my head. Like I can have my own perspectives of it, like based on like whatever you know ideas I have about the science and stuff, whatever I've learned and kind of accepted as true. But quantum computing is pretty gnarly. I just finished my cup.
There's a little more coffee in there.
Ooh, really? She's gonna get more coffee. Woo! More coffee! We haven't done dabs yet either, have we?
Not yet.
It says right here in the article, so here we go. But before we jump off the edge into complete and utter chaotic insanity of religion and socio-political conspiracy theory, dabs. That's right. Crumble dabs. And for those of you who want to check it out later on the replay, there they are. Crumble dabs. Go to YouTube, Fosad5150, and check out the replay of this show that we will post. Dabs.
Doomsday.
Yeah. Ooh, I think I got a coffee refill too.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
You guys checking out the new botanical mandala art series that we've been working on this year? This is a pretty major sneak peek. We haven't even posted pictures of these pieces completely on Instagram yet, but all those posts that we have been putting on Instagram, the time lapses of Mod Podging the leaves to the canvases and the art panels, that's the backgrounds and things that you see here. Or like this one over here. This one doesn't even, oh wait, sorry, this one. This one doesn't even have a mandala on it. It's just this crazy cool pattern of leaves. So I hope you're enjoying that as a kind of different setting. Usually we're in San Francisco with the Sutro Tower in the background, but everything changes. That's the thing, is the only constant is change. Something that might be true in one moment might not be true in another moment, or might be true to one subjective perspective but not true to another. Even objective truth we can only view subjectively. So don't give me no bullshit about subjective truths. Crumbled abs. Here we go, diving off the deep end into the deep, deep, deep. In fact, considered by some dangerous territory. I'm dangerous for entertaining these thoughts and ideas. Yes, just ask the people on Facebook who condemn me for commenting on a video that somebody else posted, thanking them for entertaining diverse spectrum of thoughts and ideas. Yeah, that's right. I was attacked, but I'm the dangerous one. Okay. Here we go. Nisara, Jasara, oh, thank you, and Saint Germain. Which, it's really interesting because a friend of mine, I don't know if I should say his name, so I'm not going to say his name, but if you're watching or if you see this, you'll know who you are. He dated this girl for a while who was in this band called Saint Germain. It's like a, I don't know if it's an all-chick punk band or if it's just like a punk band and his girlfriend was in it, but they were called Saint Germain. I don't know if they're still around or not. He's not dating her anymore, but I never knew like where that name came from. You know, like when I visited them in Oakland a couple times, you know, I don't know. I never asked where the name came from or anything. You know, like so many people just have random band names that they make up. Like, I don't know. I don't ask everyone where their band name came from. I got lots of band names in my head, and I probably couldn't tell people where they come from. So let's dive into this. Nisara, Jasara, and Saint Germain. Nisara began with Saint Germain. This is the event that has been in the works throughout all of human history. Saint Germain is one of the most key figures in the New Age belief system, and is said to be an ascended master. But his spirit is ancient. It goes far beyond what we know as the human of Saint Germain. A better description is the fallen angel known as Lucifer, who is also called Gadriel. The Book of Enoch references Gadriel and calls him the angel who deceived Eve in the Garden of Eden. And I'm kind of, you know, that kind of starts to make me wonder about things beyond all this that actually have to do with astrology and stuff. Because I just have my own ideas about who the Bible paints as the deceiver of Eve in the Garden of Eden. And they I feel like the Christian belief depicts it as like a serpent or a male serpent or something. But I wonder if they couldn't be referring to Lilith. Lilith was Eve's first wife, right? Or Adam's first wife? Lilith was supposedly Adam's first wife. You know, and if you want to know about that, you should definitely look into that, because that's some really interesting stuff. But reading this and just hearing that last paragraph brings up questions in my mind about how some of these ideas could, you know, come into play with ideas of that are related to astrology and the ideas that astrology is based on. But so beyond that, continuing the article, it's been documented that in 1729, Saint Germain was working on the establishment and funding of a new World Monetary Trust. The Saint Germain World Trust now contains the majority of the wealth that will be distributed to the world once the new financial reset takes place. Today, Saint Germain's World Trust Prosperity Program is known as Nasara and Gesara. And these are acronyms, so you know, Nasara is Nesara and Gesara is Gesara. I think he'll define them for us in just a little bit. Nasara stands for National Economic Security and Reformation Act. It applies only to the United States, while Gesara, the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act, applies to the rest of the world. For centuries, elite families who follow the light or the agenda of the second beast, the beast of the land, have been contributing to this world trust. Saint Germain specifically stated that the money in his world trust would be used in the future for prosperity and humanitarian purposes. Hey, I wonder if like this has anything to do with those guidestones, Georgia guidestones and stuff, and the stuff that's Georgia guidestones kind of remind me of this stuff too. Now, after over 250 years of contributions by the rich and elite followers of the light, compounding interest, Saint Germain's World Trust is over. Okay, I'm not gonna say this word right, but I'm gonna go for it. $1 quadrillion. That is a 1 with 45 zeros behind it. And it kind of shows you what it looks like. It's like a 1 with a shit ton of fucking zeros.
Over, yeah.
It's important to note that the United States was none other than Saint Germain's own Masonic experiment. The reason there's... Oh, sorry. Okay. Anyway. Let me start over. It's important to note that the United States was none other than Saint Germain's own Masonic experiment. The reason there's a program specifically for the United States and a separate worldwide program is because the U.S. determines to a large extent what happens in the rest of the world, which kind of aligns with what one of the astrologers, Julia, somebody, I'm not sure, because I didn't actually even see the post specifically.
It's a general vibe, I think, for the world. I mean, do you guys feel like the United States is kind of like a global leader? Like, we are role models, we are providing supplementary aid to places, hopefully, who are third world nations.
It's like a form of evidence that I can kind of point out to in the world today, you know, is that things like fast food restaurants, and and different providers of goods. They're all over the world. You see McDonald's is everywhere. Where did McDonald's start? Started in America, but now they're all over the world. And then you got like Hollywood. I never understood why like every other nation didn't have their own Hollywood going on. I never understood why like the whole world was watching movies and media being produced by Los Angeles, California. It's such a small pool of ideas. Like, to imagine anyone with any idea that they wanted to make into media having to go to Hollywood to get it seen by the world. Fuck that shit. Fuck LA. I've been there. I've lived there. Man, it's not that great, dude. Like, I found zero opportunity there. Like, we're hard workers and shit. She always finds jobs everywhere we go. Neither of us could find jobs in LA. Fuck that place, dude. Like, the rest of the world needs to start making movies and just fucking do your thing, dude. And I hope people start investing in films being made outside of Los Angeles, because I think that would open up the minds of the world. It would return so much divergent thinking and creativity to everyone in the world. It would be like an explosion, another renaissance. And this is why I do support some of the things that are going on like Netflix and Hulu and stuff, because they are making people outside of places like Hollywood able to get their ideas and creativity out there. Sorry, totally random rant. Or I'm not sorry. Anyway, this was Saint Germain's plan from the very beginning. The World Trust will be launched in the U.S. under the name NESARA, and will be the first country to distribute the prosperity funds. I'll cover more about Saint Germain in detail in another article. There's a lot to share. Draining the swamp, the false prophet system. Dr. Harvey Francis Bernard, a Louisiana graduate in systems philosophy and an engineering consultant and teacher, created the NESARA proposal during the late 1980s and early 1990s. He printed 1,000 copies on his proposal titled Draining the Swamp, Monetary and Fiscal Policy Reform, 1996, and sent copies to all members of Congress, believing it would pass quickly on its merits. Yes, Draining the Swamp. Sound familiar? Although the mainstream narrative states that the proposal died before ever gaining traction, the truth is actually quite different. It's said that NESARA was secretly passed by the U.S. Congress on March 9, 2000. The military forced Bill Clinton to sign it into law under threat. Yes, the military. The ones who, you know what? It's like, I wonder if that could be like how he got out of the whole Monica Lewinsky thing. Anyway, not trying to go there. Yes, the military, the ones who are behind the entire worldwide QAnon movement and are part of the second beast system. They actually forced Clinton, a dark Kabbalist who is part of the first beast system, to sign NESARA into law. NESARA is part of the Paris Agreement that was signed into law in 2015. Remember, Trump took the U.S. out of the Paris Agreement in 2019? The reason was simple. The U.S. is not part of NESARA. We have NESARA, the version that's specific to the United States. The move had nothing to do with climate change. As a program, NESARA can be viewed from a couple of different perspectives. The New Age says that NESARA is a spiritually directed financial program that can be attributed back to Saint Germain. It was designed to provide a new economic system for the world during the time of transition. The transition they mention is happening right now, with Donald Trump, the White Hats, and QAnon eliminating the cabal or the deep state and draining the swamp. The power is shifting from the dark cabal, or the Antichrist system, to the alliance, or the false prophet system. From the first beast to the second beast, as we discussed earlier, or as QAnon likes to say, from dark to light. Alright. From dark to light. Maybe from dark to a false light. Maybe from false dark to false light. Maybe from dark created by false light into false light. Just moving out of a shadow. But it's the shadow of a false light. I think that the only true light comes from the true dark. Anyway. However, this is a false light masquerading as the real thing, promising humanity a glorious future after the cabal is taken down is a false future. Entering the New Age. The New Age says that this current time of transition is from the Piscean Age to the Age of Aquarius. Saint Germain says that he is the teacher of the Aquarian Age. Unfortunately, he'll never get to have his own millennial reign after this financial reset. Why? Because he's Lucifer, and this is the mark. Quite literally, the last prophecy before the return of Jesus. The world trust was supposed to be distributed to the world at the beginning of what Saint Germain called Christendom's second millennium, or the year 2000. However, as Y2K started to get closer, it became clear that the Dark Cabal, who controlled the world, was not about to let this happen yet. Additionally, many biblical prophecies had not yet been fulfilled. Next, Nasara was set to be announced on September 11th, 2001 at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Do you remember what happened then? The Cabal blew up the World Trade Center to prevent it from happening. The gold that backed the new alliance economy currency was stored within the World Trade Center towers and was temporarily stolen by the Cabal. Could the gold now be stored in the global seed vault? In Svalbard? We don't know for sure, but the global seed vault is guarded under lock, key, and weaponry like no other place in the world. 9/11 was a perfect example of how the hand of biblical prophecy simply can't be forced. While we were in the end times in 2001, the 7-year tribulation had not yet started. More prophecies still needed to be fulfilled. As a collective, humanity had yet to agree to certain spiritual tests given to us by the principalities. The hurricane spaghetti model of possible outcomes still had too much uncertainty as to what humanity would spiritually agree with and consent to. Today, however, we see a record number of people proclaiming spirituality while rejecting Jesus as a savior. Now, let me just say something about this real quick, okay? You can look at this statement in a very religious perspective, but when I look at these religious doctrine or historical texts, and they mention Jesus, I like to replace the word Jesus with self, or me. And let me clarify, I don't think that I'm Jesus Christ, or that I'm some Messiah, but I think that we are all Jesus Christ, that we are all the Messiah. I think that Jesus Christ is an example set forth by efficacious behaviors of humanity that will lead us into utopian states of being. So, when it says people proclaiming spirituality while rejecting Jesus as a savior. What I see is people proclaiming spirituality through external authorities while rejecting themselves as a savior, their own savior, and the savior of humanity. It is every single one individual's responsibility to hold themselves accountable for their thoughts, feelings, actions, and behaviors, and to save themselves, because you can't save anything unless you can save yourself. And if you can truly save yourself, if you can be on good terms with yourself, then you should not fear death. And this is where I feel like these perspectives that I have come into alliance with perspectives of things that I don't really fully, I'm not a religious person, so I don't take the Bible literally, but I do take it as this historical text, and I do feel like the writers are speaking to us not in terms of things so literal. And so this is why I really think that when they are saying Jesus, they're saying that the person perceiving these words in this historical text, such as the Bible, need to take Jesus as that mirror, that reflection, that example of the efficacious human behavior and ideology, and accept that Jesus is a representation of every single individual one of us. And I think that most people are afraid to look at it like that, because then it really does make them accountable for their actions and their thoughts and their feelings. And I think a lot of people don't want to be accountable. They don't want to be responsible. They like the idea that they can behave inefficaciously and pray for forgiveness and accept some external authority as their savior. Man, I think that these are the people who are proclaiming spirituality while rejecting themselves as saviors, and they're the ones that are going to be taking the mark. They're the ones that are following the mark. And to me, the mark might not be this Lucifer or beast or whatever, hell and heaven and stuff, but the mark is the end of humanity as we know it, the end of human beings, possibly the beginning of the end of our extinction, if we choose to relinquish accountability and responsibility by accepting the mark, which you'll find very soon here will be things that sound very nice.
You want to smoke or you want to finish?
Let's see, I'll bring us to this next section here. Oh, I am at the next section. This section finishes with the verse 2, Timothy 3:5 explains it as such: having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof, from such turn away. So I think it shows that. Oh dude, I just have to take a second and really appreciate this. This is the BG41, man.
It's a combo bowl.
Oh, it's a combo bowl. Well, we're bringing in the BG41 to the mix here. Check that out. For anyone tuning in or watching this, you'll be able to see this close up in the live recording that will be posted to FOSAD 5150 on YouTube. go ahead and check out our YouTube channel, FOSAD5150, and hit that subscribe button, and you'll be notified when we release the live recording of this Cups and Bowls show. From dark to light. The faction behind Nasara and Jasara consider themselves to be working for the light, the system that is in opposition to the Cabal. But remember how we discussed that it's not bad versus good, but bad versus evil. Just because the false prophet system is taking down the Antichrist system doesn't make the false prophet system good. Although it sure will sound like it when it's presented to us. This is where things start to get kind of interesting. At least I think. These people are now working directly with Donald Trump to bring about the new worldwide quantum financial system. Most of the people working to defeat the Cabal and end the Federal Reserve Banking System, are in the U.S. military. Since Nasara failed in 2001, they decided that there was no sense in unveiling it to the people until the Dark Kabbalists were first removed from power. This is exactly what Trump and QAnon are now doing, along with the assistance of other alliance countries such as Russia and China. There are many others. So this is something else that kind of reminds me of my perspective, that these nations like America and China and Russia and stuff that everyone thinks hates each other and are opposing each other, they're not really. They're actually secretly aligned. And it's the perception of the division between these nations that keeps us all divided and conquered. Because if we were getting along with each other and we didn't fear one another, we wouldn't worry about traveling amongst one another, and we'd be able to share our cultures with one another and gain understanding of one another and have acceptance and love. And we would not be being controlled by fear. I'm down at the end of the page, aren't I? Events are now in line with biblical prophecy. Beyond that, many in the New Age claim that the current incarnation of Saint Germain is in fact Donald Trump. The time is nearly here to release the prosperity funds from Saint Germain's World Trust. Why? Because those who were controlling the current monetary system of central banking are simply no longer in control. What Nasara will do for the U.S. and the world. Now take a breath. Remember how the amount of money in the Saint Germain World Trust has reached a number of a 1 and 45 zeros. Nasara funds will be used to buy out all oil corporations, banks, pharmaceutical cartels, and zeros out all of their debt. Once all those funds are paid out, the remaining funds will be distributed to the people. Here's what they plan on doing with it for every citizen who signs a personal contract with the new alliance. Alright. This is where it gets kind of trippy. This is what makes me think that some of the people that we perceive as working in all of our interests, but still doing so through the external authorities, may not actually in fact be what we are perceiving them to be, as we're being blinded by our own desires. And this will, I hope, help you understand this. Let me begin again. Here's what they plan on doing with it. For every citizen who signs a personal contract with the new alliance. Forgive all mortgage, bank debt, and credit card debt due to the cabal's illegal banking and government activities. Eliminate the Federal Reserve System. Abolish income taxes. Abolish the IRS. Create flat rate, non-essential, new items only, sales tax revenue to fund the new government. Drastically increase benefits to senior citizens. Return true constitutional law to all citizens and courts. Establish new presidential and congressional elections within 120 days of Nassar's announcement. Create new U.S. Treasury currency, the rainbow currency, one backed by gold, silver, platinum, and other precious metals. End the bankruptcy of the United States initiated by Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1933. Stop all special interest groups. Closely monitor the validity of elections. Establish worldwide peace. U.S. troops will be brought home from around the world as peace is declared. In alignment with the Constitution, there will be no standing armies, and that will be permanently observed. Release enormous sums of money for humanitarian purposes. Enable the release of thousands of suppressed technologies currently being withheld from the public under the guise of national security. This includes free energy devices, anti-gravity devices, and sonic healing machines. 6,000 technologies will be released initially, followed by the release of more than 60,000 technologies. Initiate the phase of worldwide prosperity, the distribution of vast wealth that has been accumulating for hundreds of years. Sounds good to me. But, right? Anyway, Nassara and Tassara will create an entirely new system of worldwide currency that's fully transparent, backed by gold, not governed by bankers, and runs on the blockchain, an unhackable, ledger-driven accounting of every transaction ever made. This offers full transparency and privacy, and is 100% traceable. Traceable and privacy seem odd to me in the same sentence, to be honest. That's just my opinion. And remember, blockchain isn't just for money. It also helps to eliminate voter fraud and all dark web illegal activity and much more. Even though the U.S. was on the gold standard before Richard Nixon took us off of it in 1971, this time will be very different. Nixon took us off the gold standard in order to create debt and make the Federal Reserve more powerful. The new gold, however, isn't coming from the Fed or any other country's central banking system. Rather, it will be coming from St. Germain's World Trust. This is absolutely unprecedented in all of world history. Now, for the scary twist. The Eternal Oath. Before we the people can accept these funds, each individual will be required to make a pledge to use this money for humanitarian purposes. or make some sort of large-scale oath to humanity. Not surprisingly, there's already a blueprint for this. It reads as such: Upon this eternal oath, I freely pledge to dedicate my mind to the discovery of knowledge, dedicate my soul to the pursuit of enlightenment, dedicate my efforts to the process of abundance, dedicate my existence to bringing all people in all places into unification, and to dedicate my life and days upon this planet to the protection and abundance of the human species. On this day of blank, takes this eternal pledge. So, I mean, I didn't know about this thing, but, like, anyway, there it is. Swearing an eternal oath doesn't sound that bad, right? Especially for the good of humanity. James 5:12 strongly disagrees. But above all things, my brethren, swear not, neither by heaven, neither by the earth, neither by any other oath, but let your yea be yea, and your nay be nay, lest ye fall into condemnation. Matthew 5:34 through 35 says the same. 34. But I tell you, do not swear an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne, or by the earth, for it is his footstool. The people in the United States are the ones in most danger for signing this oath and accepting these funds, which is the mark of the beast. Those in the U.S. will be first and probably won't realize that within a few days or weeks after they accept, the entire world will be on the exact same system. All banks throughout the world will be forced to announce the new quantum financial system, GESARA, after only a few days of NESARA's official announcement. The Jubilee and deceiving the elect. This entire idea is based in the Hebrew and is called the Jubilee, where all debt is cancelled. But why do you think that everything associated with this global financial reset, the mark of the beast, is based upon biblical terms? For example, Matthew 6:12 says, "And forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors." It's almost as though they are trying to deceive the very elect, which they certainly are. In the U.S., there will be a grace period where your current Federal Reserve notes will continue to be accepted, then taken out of circulation. But after that time, only the new currency will be accepted. In other words, you won't be able to buy or sell without it, just as Revelation 13:17 says. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. The reason gold-backed money is so important to the alliance is because of the biblical King Solomon, who was one of Saint Germain's prior incarnations according to New Age Luciferian beliefs. King Solomon was one of the world's foremost alchemists, occultists, and was guided by none other than Lucifer himself. He was also the richest man who ever lived. Biblically, King Solomon and his New Age spiritual lineage are the 666. Revelation 13:18 says, "Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. And we see that in 1 Kings 10:14, now the weight of gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 666 talents of gold." God gave us all the information we need to decipher the Bible, all within its pages. In other words, the Bible cross-references itself to show ultimate truth. I'm not sure how I feel about cross-referencing the self to show ultimate truth, but interesting nonetheless.
Ultimate truth.
Not absolute truth or objective truth. Ultimate truth.
Ultimate.
Sorry, I'm just making fun a little bit. It's all fun, right? You know, we're all locked up, man. Like fuck. With a little study and research, the parallels and warnings about Solomon and the spiritual lineage that led to Saint Germain, Donald Trump, and 666 can be found in other places of the Bible, such as 2 Chronicles 9:13. God does not repeat himself without reason. We need to heed his clear warning. The return of Christ. If you believe this to be the mark of the beast, then you must also believe that Jesus is returning any time thereafter. We are at the end of the tribulation, watching for the last prophecy to be fulfilled. And it's like, man, if we're waiting for the return of Jesus, we just gotta return to ourselves.
Right, take
Fuck.
accountability.
I mean, maybe, you know,
We can all be the body of Christ in unison.
Imagine that this is what that is about a little bit, is returning to self, you know. Maybe you should stop watching us right now and turn off your internet and just sit in silence. Whatever you want to do. While nobody can be sure exactly when Jesus will return, it seems likely that he will return before the grace period between currencies runs out. Remember, Jesus said that nobody knows the day or hour of his return. He did not say that he would be blind to the general time frame of the return. I mean, you never know when you're going to come back to yourself. Don't buy into the fear. Don't buy into the peer pressure. Don't buy into the hype. There will be public shaming and probable financial difficulties when you choose to refuse the mark of the beast. There will be an overwhelming group mentality of acceptance that will be fueled by the love of material things. We might easily be confused into thinking that we will okay.
You want some help?
Yeah, you want to read some?
Can you pick it up for me?
Yeah, absolutely, please.
We might be easily confused into thinking that this is something very good. It will be presented as something that you want or need to have. You'd be a fool not to accept it. I mean, seriously, who wouldn't want to be free from all earthly debt and filthy rich, living in utopia? That's exactly how we've been conditioned to want to operate in this world. But Matthew 6:24 says, "Ye cannot serve both God and money." Always keep in mind, none of the stuff here on earth has any eternal value. Like Matthew 6:19-21 says, "Lay not for yourselves treasures upon the earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." The final test, the final countdown. Who do you trust? Do you trust the fear that the world is pushing down your throat right now? Will you trust the Nasara solution when it's presented to solve all the world's problems? Mark 10:24 says, "How hard it is for them that trust in riches to enter the kingdom of God." God is not the God of the material world. The mark of the beast is what will eternally separate you from God, because God doesn't promise you earthly riches and material wealth. In fact, he is in direct opposition to it. It is your heart that shows God where your allegiance is. Are you focused on him, or are you in love with the things of this world? When you're forced to make the decision to take the mark of the beast that will seal your eternal fate, what decision will you make? Jesus faced the same decision. Now it's your turn. When you're making your decision, remember that Jesus faced the same temptation from Lucifer when he walked on the earth. Lucifer offered him the kingdoms of the world if he would pledge an oath to him. Matthew 4:9. All these things I will give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. But in the next verse, Jesus replied, Get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. Will we all be presented with the exact same proposition? It may come during the coronavirus scare, or it may become a bit later. Only time will tell. When it does, will you answer like your neighbor does, or will you answer like Jesus did? 2 Timothy 1:7. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. And that's a wrap.
That's the article. Good kind of preachy at the end. A lot of Bible verse and religious reference there. So in my post on Facebook initially, on our own profile, I copied and pasted the more relevant portion of this article. We went ahead and read the whole thing to you guys.
Phew.
Yeah, took a while.
Yeah, but all you lazy motherfuckers, you can go try to read. And we want to put our little 2 cents in, too. We want your feedback. So, if you did manage to get through this, and you have something to say, please,
Yeah.
Did anything resonate with you guys? Do you sometimes feel like things are a little eerily apocalyptic out there?
It seems like everyone feels like things are eerily apocalyptic out there, even people who don't want to feel like that.
But, I mean, I don't think hell is necessarily a place so much as a state of mind. So,
right.
I don't think people are gonna burn in hell if they don't believe some guy died on a cross for them. I mean,
I think people can be burning in hell, in their own lives. Suffering and misery inflicted by, things like guilt and stuff like that. Not forgiving themselves for mistakes they've made. So they're able to learn from them and change that behavior and move on and evolve.
The God of love isn't the God of condemnation, I don't think. But, you gotta love with boundaries and...
To me, they're almost the same, it's like... Condemnation is like a negative way to respond to failure or disappointment, or interruption or distraction. I think that it's almost better to just outright disagree than condemn.
Right, absolutely. Voice your opinion, even if it's in opposition.
You definitely don't have to condemn what you disagree with.
Right.
You could just take it for what it is. Something that you don't resonate with. Like I said before, we're not disrespecting anybody else's wishes. We're not forcing ourselves within close proximity of anybody else. We're respecting everyone else's wish to socially distance. But I'm also not going to deny a friend a hug who doesn't think that social distancing is the solution, similarly to me. I mean, if you're sick, yes, I get. If you're sick, yes, like I get socially distancing if you're sick, and I understand that. I guess illness is spreading without people knowing they're sick. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I generally practice social distancing because I'm not a real touchy-feely person. But like at the same time, like I'm not somebody who like doesn't hug people or something, who are more huggers. So it's like I'm not always close to people. I'm not like a close talker or anything like that.
No, I think the main points are, until there are real proofs coming in, we gotta question for ourselves, like, who is getting this virus, disease? How are they getting it? Are people's immune systems being lowered as we transition into 5G? Or have people taken vaccines that have lowered their immune systems or triggered some sort?
Or vaccines somehow increasing these 5G effects? Are these 5G effects being increased somehow by whatever's in these vaccines? Or what about the chemtrails? I don't know, we could put it all together, which I think makes more sense than anything else.
Well, we want to hear from you guys, like, I mean, people, hopefully, who know people who have had, hopefully they're over and better. Like, what are their experiences, if you don't mind sharing?
What are your experiences, like, it definitely made me think about things like gas stations and stuff, which, before all this, I always thought were places where there were potentially a lot of germs, just like the gas pumps, the cars. It's all just like dirt. It all just seems kind of dirty, and everyone's just usually in a hurry getting gas, and so they're just like pumping the gas and going and whatever, and
Right.
I'm like, maybe I should put on a pair of gloves when I pump gas, or at least one glove or something when I pump gas, just because it's a high. I feel like it. I already felt like it was a high risk zone. Now the gas station's offering one glove for people who will want to pump their gas.
What?
Yeah, when I went in today, they had a sign that said, one glove per customer.
Whoa.
Available for pumping gas. I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, that was the first place that I thought of to wear a glove. I mean, other than the shopping carts, which was pretty obvious to me, but it's always been obvious to me. But like at the same time, I've never used the sanitary wipes at the grocery stores. I've always pushed the carts and all this stuff. And like I mean, I wash my hands if I go to the bathroom in the grocery store. But I mean, if I don't go to the bathroom while I'm at the grocery store, like I don't usually wash my hands at the grocery store. So I don't know, like I don't get sick a lot. I got sick last year twice. Once like for like a week or two, and once for like a few days to a week. But like I was only sick for like one day of that. Which has also sparked other ideas about this for me, that maybe whatever's going around now was actually going around sooner than people are admitting or are discovering. Maybe they just don't know. They haven't figured out yet or whatever that it's been going on longer than they think it's been going on, because there is a bunch of us who got sick and know people who got sick, and a lot of us got like really sick, and it was like hella miserable, and like there was just, I don't know, these two waves of sicknesses that came at kind of around the end of last year. One was around like Halloween and in November, and the other one was like, for us, it was like on Christmas Eve and Christmas. Like, we couldn't go to any holidays simply because we were sick. We almost, we had to delay one of our trips. And we really didn't get a chance to visit a lot of the people that we wanted to visit because we were actually practicing social distancing out of common sense because we were sick. We were like, don't come near us. Like, we're sick right now. This is not a good time to give us a hug. Warning you. If you want a hug, even though we're sick, I'll give you a hug. But I'm just warning you, I'm sick. You know what I mean? Like, this is just, common consideration for one another, dude. If I go to give you a hug and you're sick, don't just hug me. Let me know you're sick. And if I still want to give you a hug, then cool, give me a hug. But, why I've never understood why I feel the sense of common sense, and yet people are constantly telling me that common sense isn't common. And hey, maybe I'm just privileged, I admit. Yeah, okay, I'm privileged. Like, you want to call me privileged? There are plenty of ways that I'm privileged. Just living in this country is privileged. Being able to live stream is privileged. All is privilege. But I want to do good for humanity with every privilege that I have. So...
It's beautiful.
No, there was something other than that, but I got lost along the way about just wanting to use every opportunity I have to work towards bettering humanity, but that's not the point I was trying to make.
And we're also just trying to reach out during these times, and get some feedback from people we know, people watch.
Did any of you, I know some of you who might see this were sick last year, around the end of the year. Some of you have actually even expressed to us that similar idea that we've had and discussed personally during this whole pandemic.
Mm-hmm. I've heard, like, if you've gotten sick and you've gotten better, it's kind of like your immune system's a little bit stronger as well. So you're less likely to get sick again. Most people who didn't get sick are a little more susceptible to getting sick.
This is another reason that I'm not all a hardcore social distancer and stuff. I do resonate with the idea that our immune systems need to be exposed to things in order to grow and evolve and become stronger. And if I'm being exposed to people who may be sick or carrying an illness, if it's even, that's how it works, I feel like I'm being exposed to them in short enough times that, hopefully I'm getting small enough exposures to these illnesses that my body is having time to build antibodies. I definitely see how people who work as cashiers, especially in retail business, have got to be the absolutely most susceptible to getting sick, if you can get sick from another person, because they're interfacing with people all day. And even, some sick people have to go out and do their own shopping. Not everybody has anyone to help them out. Hopefully those people are taking the proper precautions, to be the ones to wear those masks and stuff where they can get them. I don't wear a mask out and about because I'm not sick. I haven't been around anyone sick. We're on fucking day 9 since we've even really been around anyone for longer than like 10 or 15 minutes. So we're getting to that 2-week mark. but we gotta go out and do shopping too and stuff. I think it's interesting that they've put the plastic protectors up between all of the cashiers. All the people have to interface with the public all day long. Like, I hope that that's helping. We are not trying to make light of anything. We're not trying to spread any bad information, like that whole article we just read. We're not taking that literally. We're just, it's just something interesting to think about. Like, sometimes there's pieces of things that can be true, even though the entire thing might not be true. There could be shreds of truth to things. This is what I'm saying about these historical texts that people consider religious doctrine. Maybe they have some value to offer. Maybe it's not the value that people are taking it as, especially people who are using it to their own advantage. Yep, all day, every day. Oh, there goes the car. Now it's gonna start beeping every so often. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this Cups and Bowls show. We completely negated the entire show that we had actually been accumulating for you guys. We completely negated all of the different sections of the show that we usually bring to you. So maybe we might do another show soon. So thank you for tuning in.
Thank you. Please be safe out there.
I'll start ending the streams here.